Hello again. In this video, we're going to look at an apparent historic contradiction, in quotes, or discrepancy between uh, periods of time, how they're accounted for in the Bible in two different instances, and um, show you how that is reconciled, how the Bible accounts for that. What we're looking at here is basically the period of time when the children of Israel came out of Egypt to the time when the temple began to be built. And in 1 Kings chapter 6 is where you see the first account of this record. It says, "And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord." So you see in this account here, it says it's the 480th year after the children of Israel come out of the land of Egypt that he started to build the temple. Now in Acts chapter 13, we see something different here. If we do some math, and let's see, in verse 17 it says, "The God of this people of Israel chose our fathers and exalted the people when they dwelt as strangers in the land of Egypt, and with an high arm brought he them out of it. And about the time of 40 years suffered he their manners in the wilderness." So there's our first period of time after coming out of Egypt, 40 years. "And when he had destroyed 7 nations in the land of Canaan, he divided their land to them by lot. And after that he gave unto them judges about the space of 450 years until Samuel the prophet." And it means up until in the Bible sometimes means including, not up until that point. So here's our second record of years, 450 years on top of 40. And then we have, "And after they desired a king, and God gave unto them Saul the son of Kish, a man of the tribe of Benjamin, by the space of 40 years." So here we have another period of years. "And when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, which shall fulfill all my will." So now we've got 40 years. Let's go to my little document here. So in the first instance, we have 1 Kings says that we have 480 years from Egypt to the temple being built. In Acts 13, Paul gives us 40 years in the wilderness, 450 years under judges, 40 years under Saul. Then we have to remember David reigned for 40 years. And then you have 3 years of Solomon reigning until he starts to build the temple in the 4th year. So this gives us a record of 573 years from Egypt to the temple. So here you have a little, well, not little, you have almost 100 years difference between these two accounts. Difference of 93 years. So here's how the Bible accounts for that. Now, in this instance, Paul he's calculating the exact number of years that passed. And what's going on here is God is looking at the number of years when Israel was sovereign. So from the time they came out of Egypt until the temple was built, he's counting the years where they were sovereign. Here we have some interesting things that go on in Judges. If you read these accounts here, you see that they served under, I forget who it was, the Midianites. You have to look that up exactly. But if you look these references up, you've got 8 years of servitude. In Judges 14, then they had 18. I think it was under Eglon. Then you had 20 years of servitude. Not sure who that was. Maybe Sisera. Then you had Judges 6. He had 7 years of servitude. Then in Judges 13, they served another king 40 years. So you add all those up, 8, 18, 27, 40, and you get 93 years where they were not sovereign over themselves. And that is the exact difference between the actual historical time period and what God was looking at as far as um, when Israel was sovereign, when they had him as king, when he did not, um, when they were not, shouldn't say not serving other gods, but when he had not given them up to, or I think the phrase is sold them into the hands of these other nations. So when they were under these other nations, there's a historical time period going by, but God's not looking at that as far as the record in 1 Kings chapter 6. And one other thing I want to point out in case someone notices this, we didn't talk about Judges chapter 10. It says, "In the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hands of the Philistines and into the hands of the children of Ammon. And that year they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel. 18 years, all the children of Israel that were on the other side of Jordan, were on the other side Jordan in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. Moreover, the children of Ammon passed over Jordan to fight also against Judah and against Benjamin and against the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was sore distressed." So this particular instance, it was the children of Israel who were on the other side of Jordan, not the entire nation. So they were not, it did not affect their national sovereignty, though a portion of them were oppressed for a period of 18 years. So that does not factor into this account here. So that's the difference if you ever run into that particular issue. This is not typically one that somebody brings up. You really have to, I guess, kind of think about it or even be aware of this and then start to ponder. Most people who are Bible correctors or want to point out errors and contradictions, they're not even really thinking about this. But this is something that I came across in a book I was reading on the 70 weeks of Daniel. And what the point of this was to show that there is a gap there between the 69th and 70th week where God has not been accounting for that time as far as Israel goes. After the 483rd week, there's him accounting for that time as far as the 70 weeks has been suspended. And here's just an additional proof that God does not always account for time, how man accounts for time. So I hope that was a help to you. And if you have any questions, anything else about that, you can let me know down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good night.